Hey everyone, Thyworm here with the second episode of Big Dog's Wonder Champion. I made the swap to early hit Wonder. I made the swap too early, I'm pretty sure, so I'll be discussing that aspect of the run in more detail, and I will also share some highlights and lowlights so far. Let's dive in. First, we craft a bleed immunity poison using beast crafting. I hire another kineticist, I drop a 6-link corrupted body armor, which doesn't have the perfect colors, but by using immolate support I can still get a decent 6-link explosive concoction. I unveil pretty decent gloves with a bit of spell suppression. I get my first topaz flask, which means a bunch of flat lightning damage for the skill, craft some maximum charges on that. I get a new belt with chaos resistance, and as I am only using one quicksilver flask so far, I decided to automate that. The rest of the flasks is used in the explosive concoction. I get one shot by a merc, which still happens apparently. I decide to gamble some wands for my merc and perhaps for myself if I get lucky, and this imbued wand isn't bad at all. I get a second topaz flask, transfer the gear from my old to my new kineticist. I do a trial of burning rage to get myself an offering of the goddess, get some diff cards for a lion eyes vision from ritual, which is part of the build guide, take on the 4th lab with that offering, and because I am such a god gamer I managed to die. First almost, later definitely. Then I find the Piscator's Vigil, and this is the wand Big Dog uses for his first elemental hit Wanderer, so this is a great find. I start collecting and gambling for some more pieces, such as this shield with good resistances, evasion and armor, and then it is time for Lab Jail, because now I need an elemental hit of the spectrum. This can take a while, but after roughly 2.5 hours and I think 20 merciless lab runs, I get my elemental hit of the spectrum, meaning I am one step closer to the Wonder build. I kill the Hunger Guy, the Solar Girl, and get a Nitwit who will provide me with Grace and Skitterbot, so I can run Haste and Determination myself for now. I get my first Divine, which gets vendored into 5 Divine Vessels. I use some Horizon Orbs to get Coral Ruins map, and I run that map to get Freeze immunity. Syndicate's been set up at this point, and the first Kadiro offers a Covenant, of course. I get a new helm. I try to get some regret orbs, as can be seen here, because it's a pretty big respec that I have to do. I need around 30 points and I don't want to spend all my gold. More syndicate shenanigans. Now it is an Impulsa that may actually be useful later. I buy some more regret orbs and I feel it is time to swap. As you're watching me do a pretty massive swap, I want to talk about this a little bit more. I am aware that at this point, if the swap doesn't work out, I can't really go back. I don't have enough currency to undo my passive tree, so whatever happens, this swap is permanent. I find it personally quite difficult, however, to figure out upfront if you're ready for a swap. Big Dogs in his video says to get some pieces, but it's not super clear which pieces and how many you need, but clearly he has made this guide for trade, so I'm expecting a bit of a worse result for sure in SSF. And it is worse, no doubt about it. Playable, but definitely worse. My main gripe with build guides, however, that have these super late swaps at like level 85 plus or yellow or red maps, as Big Dog says in this video, is that unless you've already played the build, you basically have no clue what a good moment is to swap. Do I need the entire gear set to swap? Just 2 pieces? If so, which pieces? I can pretty easily figure out how many regret orbs I need in Path of Building, but to figure out when to swap in terms of gear so you will end up with respectable damage, that's near impossible if you haven't played the build before. I think this is a massive downside of build guides like this, and I would much rather have a guide that just uses a skill early on and then keeps scaling that skill. That's not criticism of Big Dogs in any way. I think it's quite a solid build guide in all of the other aspects. It's just an issue I feel in general with super late swaps into builds, and of course also a consequence of playing SSF. This problem is significantly worse in solo self-found. Big Dogs never claimed this was an SSF viable build, and I was aware this was going to be a challenge, and I was also afraid I would be swapping too early. On the other hand, I was also kinda done with throwing concoctions at point blank range. After the swap, I do a bit less damage, especially on single target I've taken a hit. There is good news, however. First, there are some very clear paths to make the character better. I am still not spell suppression capped. I have the wrong mercenary. I miss like 3 significant uniques. My mercenary has basically no gear that buffs me, and I also still miss some gems. Second, the build is quite tanky while mapping, so I don't die all that often, meaning I'm leveling up quite nicely. And third, despite doing less damage than before, I can definitely see how the build can blast maps later down the line, and I'm already having quite a good time with the skill. It should be clear by now, I have never played this skill before, and it feels pretty good. I get a few more upgrades or notable drops after the swap. A Death's Oath, I might try that build next actually. A Call of the Brotherhood from the ground. It goes in the stash for now, but who knows. More Syndicate shenanigans with a 6th link from Gravicious. It's even influenced, and getting my colors on this thing isn't too difficult. I craft physical damage taken as cold, that's quite nice. Do a bench craft for some more evasion. It's not perfect, but it's better than a Tabula Rasa. Finally, here you see what the build currently looks like while I am running a tier 8 colonnade. I am just going to chill a little bit in the tier 8 to tier 10, 11 range of maps, not pushing through yet to tier 16 red maps. I will gain some more levels, some gem XP, and hopefully get hold of a few more key upgrades to make the Wanderer feel more comfortable. You've seen most of the upgrades in the video already in terms of gear. I will not show you the rest. The flasks I'm using you can see in this clip, and of course there is a POB of my current state in the description. It's pretty scuffed, but that is to be expected on a fresh SSF run. I hope that a few more upgrades will make the build a lot more viable, and once that happens I think this can turn into a very zoomy mapper. I can see the potential, but I'll have to add a few more key ingredients before we really start cooking. That's fine, however. Just farm a bit around the tier 11 maps, there's no shame in that, and there's no reason to rush to void stones and be frustrated while doing tier 14 maps. In my experience, it's much better to be able to quickly kill monsters and complete a bunch of maps and get your upgrades that way and find many new mercenaries, than struggling in red tier maps and losing a bunch of experience. That's at least gonna be my approach for today. And that's it for the second episode. I'll see you soon for the next one. Thanks for making it to the end, and I will see you soon. Love you all. Bye bye.